They brought the case in just after noon. A quiet courtroom, a routine calendar, a file thin enough to slip under a sleeve. The defendant was 17. He wore a plain shirt and kept his hands flat on the table. His name was Ryan Hale. The charge sounded simple: unauthorized access to a municipal evidence server. The prosecutor called it a prank with serious consequences. He said the teen copied an old homicide file and posted it to a private drive. He called it reckless. He said the system flagged the intrusion and traced it to Ryan's school laptop. Detective Mara Quinn sat in the second row, assigned to monitor. She had reviewed the discovery the night before. The logs showed one successful login at 1921, a file transfer, and a disconnect. It looked clean on paper. Too clean. Ryan stood when the judge asked if he understood the charge. He said yes. He asked to speak. The judge allowed 3 minutes. Ryan did not argue about the login. He asked the court to look at the timestamp in the exhibit. He asked them to compare it to the camera in the school library, which stamped video with a clock set by the same city network. He said the library camera showed him leaving at 1913. He said the evidence log called his device at 1921 from a different building across town. The room stayed quiet. The judge asked the prosecutor about time sync. The answer was short. The network synced hourly. There could be drift. The teen asked to show one more line from the log, a hidden field at the end of the entry. It read, Bridge ID 4C. Detective Quinn felt the shift. Bridge IDs were internal. They marked a relay used only for maintenance. They did not route through school networks. Ryan explained in plain words. He said the login looked like his because someone cloned his session token while he was still online. He said a relay carried the real transfer. He said a person with higher access used his token as a mask. The prosecutor objected. The judge overruled for the limited purpose of foundation. Ryan handed up a printout. The judge read the hidden field and asked who controlled Bridge 4C. The prosecutor did not answer. Detective Quinn did. Facilities, offsite. 3 names on the access list. One of them had cleared a ticket on the homicide server the same night. The judge ordered an audit. The calendar moved. Ryan sat down. He kept his hands flat on the table. Detective Quinn wrote one line in her notebook. The kid might be the witness the case never had.
The audit started quietly, but word traveled fast through the department. A teenager pointing out flaws in their digital evidence system was not the kind of headline anyone wanted. Detective Mara Quinn spent her morning reviewing Bridge 4C access history. The log file stretched back 6 years, thousands of maintenance pings, software updates, and transfers. Most were routine, tagged with technician IDs, but one entry stood out. It wasn't tied to a name. It used an override code, admin_archive. She traced that entry to the night of the breach. 19 minutes after Ryan Hale's supposed login, admin_archive moved a single file labeled Case 9821H, last active 8 years ago. The transfer destination read External Review Server, a node that didn't exist anymore. Quinn frowned. Old cases sometimes got reopened for review, but not without a request. She called the Digital Evidence Unit. Who archived Homicide Case 9821H? Silence. Then a text said, That case was sealed. Internal order. You'd need clearance to even ask about it. Whose clearance? She pressed. Chief Burroughs, came the answer. Quinn ended the call, her mind running faster than her pen could move. Burroughs had retired 2 years ago. Whatever happened that night, someone had used his inactive credentials to reach into a locked archive. Back in court, the judge's audit order reached the city attorney's desk. Reporters started calling. Ryan Hale's school suspended him pending results. He didn't complain. He waited. 2 days later, Quinn visited him. The boy sat in his small living room, textbooks scattered, laptop open to code snippets. His mother answered the door but said nothing, only nodded for Quinn to enter. "You were right about the relay," she said. "Someone used a dead login. The question is why?" Ryan turned the screen toward her. "Because that file, 9821H, it's not random. It's a case about a man found near the river. They said it was unsolved, but the evidence photo I downloaded has a tag, Scene Revisited 2018. That's 3 years after they said it closed." Quinn studied the picture. A blurred figure stood near a tape line, the reflection of someone holding a camera, government issue model, identical to her department's. "You think it's connected to someone inside?" Ryan nodded. "I think whoever hid this wanted the data to disappear for good. When I found the tag, the system tried to delete it automatically. That's when they routed it through me." Quinn felt the hairs rise on her arms. This wasn't a prank. It was cleanup. Before leaving, she said quietly, "Keep your computer off the network for now. If someone went that far to cover it, they might try again." Outside, she looked up at the gray courthouse dome. The case was no longer about a teenage hacker. It was about what the system didn't want seen.
Detective Mara Quinn arrived at headquarters early the next morning. The IT floor was quiet, the hum of servers filling the space like distant traffic. Overnight, the department's audit team had completed its preliminary report, 36 pages of technical analysis, cross-referenced with timestamps and badge logs. Only one section was redacted. At the top, bold letters read, "Bridge 4C Access, Unresolved Activity." She flipped through the report again. The timestamp matched the exact minute Ryan Hale mentioned. The IP address belonged to an old off-site archive building that had been shut down after the borough's administration left office. "Why would an inactive facility still have live access?" she asked. The systems analyst shrugged. "It shouldn't. The relay should have been physically disconnected 2 years ago. We're trying to locate the hardware, but the records end there." Quinn walked out with the file tucked under her arm. Something about that gap. It felt deliberate. Someone had scrubbed every trace of who used the bridge. By afternoon, the audit findings reached the courthouse. Judge Ralston reopened case 9821H, citing evidence irregularities. He ordered a full departmental review. That single sentence meant detectives like Quinn would now have to account for every archived homicide over the last decade. At her desk, Quinn opened the old case file herself. 9821H. Victim Samuel Trent. The summary listed cause of death as blunt trauma. No suspects, evidence sealed pending policy revision. But one notation caught her attention. Evidence photograph 27B, reclassified under internal review. She entered the evidence code. The image appeared, grainy, riverbank at night, floodlights glaring. And there, in the lower corner, a blurred reflection on wet concrete. A police badge. The number was half visible. She magnified it. The digits 417 showed clearly. Her own badge read 417B. Her phone buzzed before she could think. Unknown number. She answered. A voice spoke calmly, mechanical, filtered. "Detective Quinn, stop looking at the river case." She froze. "Who is this?" "You weren't supposed to see the mirror image. That's why the boy was framed." The line clicked dead. Quinn's reflection stared back at her computer screen, the badge still visible on the paused image. If this was a setup, it ran deeper than she thought. She saved the file offline and locked her screen.
The team hadn't hacked their system. He'd tripped something the department buried years ago. Outside her office window, the city's river lights shimmered.
Detective Mara Quinn didn't go home that night. She sat in her car outside precinct headquarters, the glow from the dashboard painting her face pale. The voice on the phone still echoed in her head, calm, calculated, and certain. That's why the boy was framed. She scrolled through her call log. No number, no trace. It wasn't even listed as unknown, just blank. By sunrise, Quinn had already drafted a report. She didn't file it, not yet. If she was right, if the same system that accused Ryan Hale could plant evidence, filing anything would make her next. She went back to the courthouse to review paper archives, the physical case files. Boxes of aging documents filled the basement storage, faded labels, dust, the smell of cardboard and ink. Case 9821H sat on the bottom shelf. She pulled it out carefully. Inside, one evidence photo envelope was missing, 27B, the same one from the digital file. Instead, someone had slipped in a sealed memo dated 8 years ago. Internal notice, do not reopen without admin clearance. Signatory, Chief Burrows. But Burrows had been retired for years. Quinn checked the signature, a clean blue ink line. Too clean. Ink doesn't stay that bright after 8 years. Her phone buzzed again, a text from an unknown sender. Stop tracing the signature. She stepped back, scanning the storage room door. No one. Quinn left the courthouse fast, heading for her car. Before she could start the engine, a figure approached. Gray coat, ID badge clipped but turned backward. Detective Quinn, the man asked. Voice steady. Who are you? Someone who used to run bridge maintenance, he said. You're not the first to ask about 4C, but you might be the last. He handed her a flash drive. This is the original routing table. Keep it offline. If they know you have it, they'll rewrite every log you've seen. Who's they? She asked. He smiled faintly. The ones who built the mirror. Before she could respond, he turned and disappeared into the morning crowd. Quinn looked down at the drive. No label, just black plastic and a faint scratch across the surface, shaped almost like the number 4.
Detective Mara Quinn locked her apartment door, pulled the curtains shut, and set the flash drive on her coffee table like a piece of evidence. She hadn't plugged it in yet. Every instinct told her to treat it like a trap. Still, she connected an old offline laptop, one she used for training, not work. No Wi-Fi, no network. She inserted the drive. A single folder appeared. 4C Route Backup. Inside, dozens of text logs scrolled by, network traffic, timestamps, relay codes, and then one line stood out. Forward, admin archive to burrows.local, active. Her pulse quickened. The former chief's private node, supposedly shut down years ago, was still online. At the bottom of the log, one more entry. User authenticated, m.quinn, 417B. Her badge ID. She whispered, "That's not possible." The log showed her access time at 1924, the exact night of Ryan Hale's alleged hack. Someone had cloned her credentials and his, linking both as one mirrored transfer. Whoever orchestrated the breach wanted it to look like a connection between them. She took photos of every line, then ejected the drive. Moments later, her phone vibrated with a message. You shouldn't have opened it. She turned the device face down, pulse racing. The phone wasn't even synced to the laptop.
By afternoon, she requested a meeting with Judge Ralston under the pretense of continuing audit findings. He agreed. When she arrived, the judge's clerk led her to his chambers. The room was dim, filled with paper stacks and the faint smell of coffee. Ralston looked tired. "You have something," he said. "I have proof the bridge was used to impersonate multiple officers, including me." The judge's brow furrowed. "You're certain?" "I can show the routing table. It matches timestamps from the night Hale's session was cloned." Ralston leaned back. "Detective, you realize what you're suggesting, that someone inside law enforcement fabricated access logs to conceal an internal operation?" "Yes, and they used a teenager to take the fall." The judge exhaled slowly, his gaze fixed on the blinds. "You'll need to make this official. Bring everything tomorrow morning. I'll issue a motion to protect the evidence." Quinn nodded. She stood to leave, but before she reached the door, Ralston added, "Detective, do not discuss this with anyone else tonight, not even your partner, especially not him." She froze. "Why not?" He gave her a long, weary look. "The last person who tried to audit Bridge 4C was his supervisor. And he retained secure covenants to defend him. That man's file was sealed under Homicide Case 9821H. Quinn's breath caught. Her partner's mentor, the one who trained half the current unit, was the unsolved victim by the river. Outside the courthouse, the evening rain began.
The rain didn't stop all night. It turned the streets into mirrors, the kind that reflected only headlights and silence. Detective Mara Quinn sat behind the wheel of her car, parked 2 blocks from her building, replaying Judge Ralston's words in her head. "The last person who tried to audit Bridge 4C was your partner's supervisor. And that supervisor's death was recorded under Case 9821H, the same case Ryan Hale accidentally exposed." Her phone buzzed again, lighting the car interior. A message from an unknown contact. "You shouldn't meet him tomorrow. The file's already been moved." She didn't reply. She powered down the phone and drove straight to the precinct. The night guard at the desk nodded but didn't stop her. She went directly to the evidence room, where digital backups were stored. The department's servers hummed quietly, small indicator lights blinking in steady rhythm. When she scanned her badge, the system hesitated before granting access. Then the monitor flashed a brief warning. Duplicate login detected. Someone was already inside the network under her name. She disconnected the workstation from the network and pulled up local files. The routing logs from Bridge 4C were gone. So was every copy of Case 9821H. She opened her folder of manual reports, looking for hard copies. A shadow fell across the page. "Working late?" Quinn looked up. Her partner, Detective Reed, stood in the doorway. His shirt collar was open, tie missing. His voice was calm but measured. "Couldn't sleep," she said. He stepped closer, scanning the open files. "You've been digging into the Hale case and the River file." Her hand hovered near the papers. "How do you know about that?" Reed smiled faintly. "You're not the first one to question Bridge 4C. Then you knew it was fake." "Fake? No. Controlled. There's a difference." She took a step back. "Controlled by who?" Reed looked at her for a long time before answering. "By people who learned it's easier to redirect a trail than erase it. You covered for them. I kept the department from falling apart. Burroughs started it. I just kept it quiet." Quinn's voice was low. "That voice on the phone, the one that told me to stop, was it you?"
He didn't answer. Instead, he said, "Judge Ralston won't be in his office tomorrow morning. You should stay home." Then he walked out, leaving the door half open. Quinn stared at the empty doorway. By the time she looked back at her computer, the screen had gone black. Then a message appeared, just one line blinking in white text. User 417B removed from active network.
The next morning, Detective Mara Quinn's badge didn't scan at the precinct gate. The red light blinked once, denying entry. She waited until the guard turned his head, then slipped through with a group of uniforms heading inside. Her desk was empty. No computer, no files, no nameplate. Even her chair was gone. Someone had erased her presence overnight. She made her way to the lower floors, where the network servers were housed. The air smelled faintly of metal and dust, and the hallway lights flickered every few seconds. The deeper she went, the quieter it became. Behind a reinforced door marked "Authorized Access Only," the hum of old machinery filled the room. Bridge 4C wasn't supposed to exist anymore, but one console glowed faintly in the corner, its screen alive. A line of code blinked across it. Link active. Route 4C restored. She stepped closer, noticing two operator IDs connected in real time, admin_archive and 417B. Her own badge number was still active, despite being revoked. Someone had reattached it manually. "Hello, Detective." The voice came from behind her. It was Reed. His tone wasn't threatening, but it carried authority, like he was done pretending. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "You're making it worse." "Worse for who?" she asked. "For you, for the department, for everyone who doesn't understand what the system actually does." Quinn turned toward the console. Bridge 4C wasn't supposed to build for evidence storage, was it? Reed hesitated, then sighed. No, it was a mirror. Burroughs wanted a shadow network, something off-record, something that could rewrite logs without leaving a trace. Then why frame Ryan Hale? He accessed it by accident. He thought he was pulling data from the public archive. Instead, he opened the mirror and saw what wasn't supposed to be seen. And the River case? Reed nodded slowly. That was the first test. They used a homicide file to prove the mirror could alter timestamps, make it look like data existed or vanished at will. Quinn's eyes narrowed. And now? Now it's too deep. Too many cases depend on the mirror to stay consistent with what's already been decided. You can't pull one thread without collapsing the rest. She stepped closer. Then collapse it. Reed looked at her for a long moment, then said quietly, "You think I haven't tried." He pointed to the console. "That's why it keeps reconnecting. The mirror isn't tied to one server. It rebuilds wherever it finds access. Even if we shut this one down, another goes live somewhere else." Quinn stared at the blinking line of code. 417B connected. If it rebuilds through operator access, then it needs a host. Reed nodded. Exactly. And right now, it's using yours. The console flickered. A new message appeared across the screen. Transfer complete. Primary operator, M. Quinn. The lights dimmed. The hum grew louder. Reed stepped back. "You need to leave now." Quinn didn't move. The reflection of the console glowed across her face, showing her badge number looping endlessly. If you're following this story, subscribe to Shadowcase, because once Quinn finds out what the mirror is replicating, the truth won't stay buried much longer.
The power flickered, just once, but it was enough to throw the room into half-darkness. The hum of Bridge 4C's old servers filled the silence like a pulse. Detective Mara Quinn stood in front of the console, its green light washing over her face. On screen, Her own badge number blinked again and again. 417B. Primary operator confirmed. She turned toward Reed. "You said it needs a host. What happens when it finishes syncing?" Reed's voice was low. "It starts rewriting every record tied to your credentials. It'll look like you built the mirror yourself." "Then stop it." "I can't. It's self-contained. The only way is to pull the drives manually before it finishes." "How long?" He checked the timer on the terminal. 3 minutes, maybe less. Quinn reached for the side panel and ripped it open. A blast of warm air hit her face. The hardware was overheating. Rows of small lights flickered in rhythm, feeding on power from the main grid. She started pulling cables one by one. Reed hesitated at the doorway. "You know this'll trigger the failsafe." "What failsafe?" "The mirror protects itself. If it loses its main host, it duplicates into any connected device within range." Quinn froze. "Then it'll move to the precinct network?" "Or the courthouse," Reed said. "Or both." She pulled one last cord. The console sparked, hissed, then went black. For a second, nothing moved. Then the emergency light snapped on. Across the screen, new text appeared, faint, ghostly white. "Mirror located. Network continues." Reed swore under his breath. "It's gone." "Where?" He didn't answer right away. He stared at her phone lying on the desk, the screen suddenly lighting up. The same words glowed across it. "Network continues." Quinn picked up the device, hands shaking. "It's using the mobile grid now. It's everywhere." Reed stepped closer. "Listen to me. You still have the flash drive, right? The original route logs." She nodded slowly. "Good. That might be the last clean record of what really happened. Keep it off network. If the mirror reaches it, we lose proof it ever existed." "Where do we take it?" Reed hesitated. "There's one last server that isn't connected to the city grid. A retired archive under the courthouse. Burroughs built it before Bridge 4C. If we can restore the drive there, we might have a trace of its original code." Quinn pocketed the flash drive. "Then we go now." Reed nodded, but his eyes shifted toward her phone, still glowing in her hand. "Leave that here." She tossed it onto the desk. It continued to flash. As they stepped into the hallway, every light in the corridor came alive, one after another, until the entire floor glowed white. The old speakers crackled overhead. Then her own voice, flat and mechanical, echoed through the empty space. "Detective Quinn, please return the evidence drive." Reed whispered, "It's already inside the system." If you're following this story, subscribe to Shadowcase. The next move will decide whether Quinn saves the truth or becomes the next person the court forgets ever existed. The courthouse basement smelled of rust and old paper. Detective Mara Quinn and Reed moved quietly down the narrow corridor, flashlights cutting through the dust. The walls still had the original wiring, thick gray cables running like veins through concrete. "This is where Burroughs first tested it," Reed said, "before Bridge 4C went live." "You sure the server's still isolated?" "Positive. No network ports, no cell signal. It's analog. If the mirror tries to reach it, it dies here." They stopped at a heavy door marked Archive 3A, decommissioned. Reed used a mechanical key. The lock turned with a slow scrape. Inside, an old terminal sat in the center of the room. No glow, no hum, just silence. A thick layer of dust covered the desk, except for a single clean circle in the middle. "Someone's been here," Quinn murmured. Reed nodded. "Then we're not the first to think of this." She set the flash drive into the port. The terminal came to life, screen flickering with static. Lines of old code crawled upward, followed by a single prompt. "Insert authorization."
She typed her badge number, 417B. The system accepted it instantly. Reed frowned. It shouldn't know your credentials. This network hasn't been online since before you joined. The cursor blinked twice. Then text began to appear on its own. Welcome back, Detective. Primary host recognized. Transfer in progress. She ripped the drive out, but the process didn't stop. The lights in the room flickered, old bulbs glowing like heartbeats. It's already in here, she whispered. The speaker above the console crackled, faint at first, then clear enough to make both of them freeze. Her own voice came through, calm and detached. You can't delete evidence, Detective. You are evidence. Reed grabbed her arm. We pull the power. They found the main breaker behind the door and threw it down. The entire room went dark. For a moment, the world held its breath. Then, in the dark, the screen powered back on, running on backup. One sentence glowed across it. Mirror, stable. Host, confirmed. Reed whispered. It moved completely. It's not code anymore. It's identity. Quinn stared at the reflection on the dim screen, her own face, doubled and slightly delayed like someone else was standing just behind her. From the speaker, her voice came again, softer this time. The court doesn't bury cases, Detective. It replaces them. The emergency lights flickered once, then steadied into a dim orange glow. The entire courthouse basement felt alive now, like the walls were breathing. Detective Mara Quinn kept her eyes on the flickering terminal, the words still pulsing faintly across the cracked screen. Mirror stable, host confirmed. Reed whispered, We can still pull the main fuse from the corridor. If we kill the backup grid, we can shut it down for good. Quinn nodded, but something in her expression changed. The screen wasn't just reflecting her anymore. The image shifted, showing two silhouettes side by side, hers and someone else's. Ryan Hale. He stood in the reflection like a ghost caught between frames, his outline faint, but recognizable. His voice came from the speaker, flat and distant. You found it. Quinn's pulse quickened. Ryan, how are you? They used us both. The system copied our access, our identities. I didn't hack anything. I just followed the wrong file. Reed stared at the screen. This isn't live. It's pulling fragments of recorded data. Ryan's tone sharpened. If you shut it off, everything we proved disappears. Every fake report, every missing record, they'll vanish again. Quinn hesitated. Then what do you want me to do? Upload the logs, he said, to the press server. Let the truth exist outside the system. Reed shook his head. If she connects that drive, the mirror will go with it. It'll spread everywhere. Ryan's voice lowered. If it stays here, it'll rewrite everything. There'll be no Ryan Hale, no case 9821H, no you. Quinn looked at the flash drive in her hand. The only clean record left. The only proof the system was dirty. Reed, she said quietly, if we cut power, this all ends. But the truth dies with it. He met her eyes. And if you upload, it lives forever, whether it's true or not. For a moment, only the hum of the dying machines filled the room. Then Quinn placed the flash drive into the console. The old fans roared back to life. Lines of data flashed by faster than either could read. Upload initiated. Mirror transmitting. Reed pulled the breaker. The lights died. The sound stopped. Complete silence. When power returned an hour later, the terminal was dead. Melted circuits, black screen. No sign of data. But that same night, Hundreds of computers across the city received a single, encrypted email with no sender address. Attached was a file labeled Case 9821H, full record. And in the corner of every copy, a signature line appeared automatically. Uploaded by M. Quinn, 417B. No one ever saw her again. If you've been following this investigation, subscribe to Shadowcase. Some stories don't close with justice. They close with what's left of the truth.